Hello everyone, episode 28, Road to Superbowl, season number 2, your hopefully soon-to-be favorite type of show/podcast that gives you a preview of this season that starts in like a couple of days. We are really finishing, we should get this done by the Chiefs-Ravens game, so watch the channel, we should be good by then. We have only 4 after this one, but today, here we are, talk about Ravens, and the reference, I hope, is kind of clear. I'm obviously referring to the Edgar Allan Poe horror story Raven, which, like, for Ravens, they can impose this fear towards opponents, but at the end of the day, that's how their seasons end, last couple of years, unfortunately. And it was really bad, like, showing against the Chiefs in a game that they were heavily favored, actually, like 4 points at home. And it was supposed to be a year where like they will cruise past Chiefs. They didn't. And it was arguably the worst Lamar's performance of the year. It was really weird in terms of play calling. Like, why are you not running the ball? What is going on? What happened there? So, yeah. Should we expect another horror season, or will Ravens be finally scaring the opponents all the way towards the promised land with Superbowl? Let's figure it out, shall we? So we start with their draft for the season, and this was one of better drafts out there. Not necessarily the best, but like really close to top 5 in my opinion. And we start with Nate Wiggins, who I'm slightly low than I believe general public is. This is kind of why, like I give you kind of why, he just feels like he could struggle with like tough weather, whether it's in Baltimore, in Buffalo, in Kansas. Like when January arrives, I feel like he could struggle with his body frame. Other than that, like, I have zero problem with his absolute speedster. He will give you what you need. He is still a steal. He is a position of value. So I really like this pick. The only thing that like knocks this slightly for me is he's not necessarily a guy that I like want to count on come January and really freaking bad weather. But other than that, Nate Wiggins absolutely works here. Then they go and draft Roger Rosengarten, and with him, it felt about alright when he was picked. He fits position of need for this team, though it's much more they need guards rather than tackle, so yeah. Like, it's not necessarily like they were guys that I would pick over him, but it fills a need, not necessarily the biggest one you have in terms of O-line. And also, I'm not a huge favorite of him in this scheme offensively. So, all in all, it's a good pick, but I don't see this being anything like sensational or like super good. Like, if I would go, it's B- or B+, it would be definitely more close to B-. But then you go to Elisa Isaac, who is a steal. He should not be on the board starting or like this late in 4th round. I had him as like early 4th round guy. He definitely fits a successor plan for the edge group here, though he was listed as linebacker, but most of off-ball linebacker. So he definitely in future, which is something that, like I said numerous of times during this podcast, like when you have a guy like Lamar, Joe, Patrick, or Josh, you can do for now or for the future. And Ravens are probably one of the teams that does it best. But like out of those 4 teams, like it's only Bills that I just don't see really eye to eye with these strategies. Like they don't feel like they're necessarily optimizing or balancing the road between now and in 2 years that good as those 3 teams, which I believe are doing amazing job, and Elisa Isaac is another example of that. So really nice picks. And it doesn't stop there, because Devontae Walker is a guy that I absolutely love, and not necessarily like this is like some kind of super steal or anything. I won't tell you. I won't tell you right now why I like him so much. But you just need to wait like 10 to 15 minutes when we will be talking about this offense, and like the way I would build offense in terms of NFL, and Devontae Walker definitely plays a part in it. So you need to wait, or you can just scroll in the video. Sorry if you expected my grades here. Like you see, I like him. It's an A grade. Then TJ Tampa, there's several opinions. Some would say like, he should have absolutely not been down there. He's a second round talent, and I've heard several people saying like this actually feels adequate. I'm definitely more in that first category. I think he like second to third round is where I expected him to go. So the fact that you can get him again with such a position of value, and also like there is really a good plan for him to step on the field, as well as like double dipping into that room with him and Nate Wiggins. I love this pick, really love this pick. Where like kind of my only negative grade, because B is my like standard grade for like good picks, and anything less than that is like negative grade, is Rasheen Ali, who I just don't see how he necessarily gets on the field when you have Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, and Derrick Henry ahead of him. So this like feels like thinking like 3 to 4 years down the line, and I'm just not really up for that. But like 165, it's not like this pick has immense amount of value, and perhaps like with Keaton Mitchell and his injury concerns, getting him is not like super bad. I don't see like a huge upside in him. But if you drafted here a good backup, you're running back number 3 for 4 years for cheap, I can live with that, though it's definitely not my favorite. With Devin Leary, Nick Samak, or Sanusi Kane, I really have nothing to say about these guys, nothing that really pops out of my head. It's just, I'm not gonna say like not worth mentioning, but to me, I don't have strong opinions to, I'm not going to act like I do. So let's go. And let's focus on this offense. And this offense starts with Ted Monken, who last year took over from Greg Roman. And boy, oh boy, it was a thing of, like, I want to say thing of beauty. Though it was really good, but it wasn't necessarily like something exceptional. I think he absolutely did his job. He was like, well, let's give Lamar actually pro-style offense. Let's put more pressure on him in terms of his passing abilities, and he absolutely done that. Lamar, I would say, thriving in that system very much, and I do expect them to even elevate that this season with like second year of cooperation here. So that's that. But like one like thing I wouldn't say necessarily of criticism is like I have not seen anything like out-scheming opponents. Like I think he designed a really good scheme that taps into Lamar's abilities, that really uses them the right way, but it's not like it necessarily super elevates everything. So he, with a B grade, he is definitely like middle of the pack offensive coordinator / head coach that oversees offense, and I am definitely intrigued to see how this is going to translate into year 2. Now let's talk what he has to work with, and here we have to start with Lamar Jackson. I say there are 4 QBs that I am going to put an elite starter tag on. It's Lamar, it's Joe, it's Josh, and it's Patrick. If I would have to choose number 4 for me, it would be Lamar. And I did give this more thought when I was talking about like Dak Prescott a couple of episodes earlier, when I'm like, what is it that separates like Dak Prescott from Lamar? I'm not comparing them in terms of like style of play, because they are definitely different type of QBs, but in terms of why I'm like giving Lamar some slack while I'm not willing to do that with Dak, because I said like I would not sign Dak Prescott towards maximum deal, and I would definitely do that with Lamar. And when I thought about that, it's 3 things actually. Number one is this was just his first year in like the offense that really puts a lot of pressure into him, not only to just be able to use his legs, but to be a proficient enough passer that absolutely elevates this offense. And I think he's definitely not maxed out. So that's number one. Like, I think there's a room for him to grow. Is that room like necessarily he's going to be better than Patrick Mahomes, as Mr. Harbaugh tries to tell us that they believe they have the best QB in the league? I don't see that. I don't see that room. But I definitely see potential for him to be better. Second thing is just the conference, man, and also the division. Like, he literally faces one of the other three guys in his own division, and it's not like during his time he doesn't have to face Mike Tomlin, who always has a winning record in his own division. And Browns are actually a good team, so the division is really, really hard compared to what Dallas has to face with. And so, where some of the Ducks numbers are really kind of inflated by facing Washington, facing Giants, really smacking them down, and he's exceptional in that. Lamar, I think, proved himself more in tougher games, but it was in regular season, not necessarily playoffs, but he showed to me more in those games. That's also why I think he has two MVPs while Dak has none, because the quality of opposition is better, I think, for Lamar, as well as the play just slightly is than what Dak Prescott shows. And the third part for me with Lamar is, unlike Dak, he didn't have two exceptional players on rookie deals with whom he would not be able to accomplish pretty much anything. And Dak had Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb 2 years on their rookie deals, and they have not made a conference championship even. That's why I'm okay, we've seen Dak with great surrounding cast around him, really elite players that you are not paying much, in worse division, in worse conference overall, and he was not able to deliver. So that's why I just cannot give. That's why I don't hold Lamar's unsuccess in playoffs against him to that degree, to the degree that I hold it against a guy like Dak Prescott, because it just didn't show me enough that I trust that in the future he will be the guy that will put a team on his back and will carry them through the playoffs. I think Lamar did not necessarily show that in playoffs, but I do believe he has that potential, and he showed it against teams that are really good in regular season. So I really wanted to give you my one-on-one on this. Also, guys, if you see me sweating a little bit, it's just I've been lying down with some slight fever, but I want to deliver to you. So pardon my appearance if something feels like I just sometimes grab my face because I feel not very well. So this is Lamar. I am truly excited about what the future holds for him, and especially with what I hope this offense is going to look like. And it's going to start with Derrick Henry. Boy oh boy, am I excited. Another combination of elite dual threat QB and elite running back. I'm so eager to see that. What is there to say with Derrick Henry? He is still elite. I just cannot say he's not. He had to endure Titans that were in disarray internally. He had to endure really bad offensive lines. In that area, it's not it's getting better here, but hear me out. And he was still really good, yards after contact. He was, I believe, second last year, which means despite him rush yards per carry is not necessarily great. 4.2 is not good mark. It's when you are getting contacted behind the line of scrimmage, towards your QB, you are not even getting past the line of scrimmage untouched. It's really hard to give consistent good numbers because that line was just trash. And also, for the most part, teams just didn't have to worry about the passing game of the Titans. So I think Derrick Henry should be really, really excited about this opportunity because he will have much more running room than he was used to with the Titans, because the teams will need to adjust towards counting for Lamar. The only thing that doesn't change that much is the quality of O-line, which is not incredible here, though it's still better than what the Titans had last season. Behind him you have Justice Hill, just kind of average backup, not much to say. And one guy that is missing from here, is one that I want to mention, and he's definitely worth mentioning, but there is a question mark, huge, about his contribution, like this year and like pretty much in his career, because it's Keaton Mitchell, and the guy is absolutely insane. Like his numbers last year in those limited amount of snaps he was able to stay healthy were exceptional. Like he took league by the storm. He was super speedy, super flashy. Like you cannot, like if he broke first tackle, you are not catching him. And he was able to break tackle. So the only thing is, can he stay healthy? He was coming into the league with injury concern, and unfortunately they just materialized here in a pretty brutal way. So if he's here, oh boy, this is absolutely nasty. But as of right now, like I'm not sure how much you can count on him being, like I would say like over under on his snaps this season are like 200. So that's unfortunately the reality with him. And let's think towards tight ends, because I want to talk about this offense and how it's constructed and how it's. No, I want to talk about my idea of offense. Like I like passing game. I definitely do enjoy 50 yards, like really bombing it over the top, or even like some creative shit that they do, like with Miami with Tyreek, or like in San Fran. Like I do enjoy passing game as much as the next guy. If the next guy enjoy passing game quite a lot, but I do love run game. I absolutely do love kind of running the ball, like playing hard. I do really like that. Like when I was starting watching NFL, it was Marshawn Lynch time with Seahawks, and I was just super enjoying this man playing. And I think like since then, rushing the ball is equally or even more important to me than strictly passing it. And when I was thinking like how would I design my offense, how would I make it really not fun to play against me and giving myself a really good chance of winning football games, is really close to what the Ravens are doing. And I would be in 12 personnel a lot, so I need 3 tight ends that can have different roles, and they have it here. Like Mark Andrews is an absolute star of a tight end, one of those elite guys, necessarily not on the same level as George Kittle and Travis Kelce, but I'm still not knocking him down. Like he was dealing with some injuries, so like he was not playing like elite starter last season, but I still believe he is. Then you have Isaiah Likely, who is more of, he's a tight end, but the best use for him is in the slot, and that's where, like in 12 personnel, you will use him as a slot, and you are creating mismatch problems for defense. And Charlie Corral is actually a guy that, if he was not buried behind these two, as of right now, I would say he would be at least a decent starter. Like he is really good. And like I don't necessarily expect Mark Andrews to slow down, and I only expect Isaiah Likely and Charlie Corral to improve. But go back to what I would do. So I would be in 12 personnel a lot of the time. Then I would try to go for like a guy that they kind of have in Zay Flowers. Not necessarily, I would not need like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, but guys that are like solid number 1 piece, great number 2s, guys like Zay Flowers. And the reason for needing this guy is like, eventually sometimes you need to pass the ball. You need to keep the defense honest. And when a guy can kind of do everything, you can put him in the slot, you can put him outside, you keep the honest defense. You keep the defense honest. So you need one special player like him, or like really good wide receiver like that. And then I would go and I would pretty much draft 3 to 4 wide receivers that I don't care about anything else than can you run super fast. And the point of them would be, every single play, just freaking go. And why? Well, I know that over time people would have noticed, we are not passing them the ball that much, they are not that good. Still, they would, I dare you to not put a safety, at least like one eye looking at the guy, and if we actually are able to construct play action towards him, like some kind of bomb to him, like I dare you to leave him one-on-one against any corner. And pretty much why I would draft like 3 of these guys, have 3 of them like on the roster, because it would literally be just run it every single goddamn time you are on the field. Like, just tire the fuck out of the defensive back. Like, unless you are changing your guys or you are leaving them like kind of wide open, then the cornerback is going to have like super unfucking like super exhausting game. Like, it's going to be a nightmare to play against that. And that's kind of my only use for these guys. Like, obviously, sometimes I need to target them, but I do not need a special guy there. Like, if he catches the ball 1 out every 3 times, and the other times, like, he drops it or anything, but I'm using him as a wear and tear on these defensive backs, right? So that's my 2 wide receivers. They kind of have it here. And then we already talked about tight ends. I want to live in 12 personnel. I want to have a QB. Then now let's go to the QB. I want to have a QB that can put it over the top, but I don't need him to be exceptional in that, as I explained with wide receivers, but I just need for him to have that ability. And I want him to thrive in like in short to intermediate game, and I want him to be a dual threat. Well, welcome Lamar. That's what he does, right? That's what he does, I think, the best. And when you have that, and you combine that with what they have in terms of running back room, you have your huge another wear and tear type of running back in Derrick Henry. That I dare you to not watch Lamar for like keeping the ball, and I dare you not to watch Derrick Henry and not to try to tackle him with like 2 guys, because 1 guy is just not enough. I dare you. So you are creating so many mismatch problems that I just am not sure how the defenses would keep up with that. And the idea behind this is I should be able to really control the ball. I should be able to put the defense like on the gas mask and just pound the ball. And then I have guys like those Peter wide receivers, like Keaton Mitchell, that like 1 time you are not giving 100% of an effort for the tackle. 1 time you let the guy slip up. Well, here we go, 50-yard touchdown. So this is kind of how I would construct my offense. Obviously, for that you need good to great O-line, which is not something that Ravens do. So there's like one thing that they are missing, in, like from my ideal type of offense. Not necessarily the best one out there, but how I would construct it. So I am incredibly excited about Baltimore offense. Like, it's just kind of what I hope teams, not hope, what I would do. This is the closest that teams hopefully will get, because there is not a certainty that they will go in 12 personnel that much as I would do. So now go towards the wide receivers, and like I said, my room, or kind of the way I would construct offenses, you don't necessarily need great wide receivers. You need 1, and you have that in Zay Flowers. Really good rookie year, definitely a guy that can emerge as low tier elite guy. Most likely he's going to be amazing starter. Someone like Drake London, someone like DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, like not in terms of like how he plays, but in terms of continually be 10 to 15 best wide receiver in the league, and definitely a guy that you are happy with to be your number 1, and they found him last year in the draft. Then you have Nelson Aguilar, Rashid Bateman, and Devontae Walker. All of them are on the roster, so they did not get cut. And it's like, yeah, you need some other bodies. Like one of them like fits more with skill set of Zay Flowers. One of them is more like that, more of a speedy guy, deep threat with Devontae Walker. So it on paper, this wide receiver room is quite bad, like, or mediocre. Like, you have low end number 1, you don't necessarily have anyone that you would call number 2, and you have a bunch of like number 3, number 4 guys. So it's definitely not a great room, but for what you are trying to do, hopefully, it's absolutely what you need. You don't want to invest in like, I mean, obviously it would be cool to have Tyreek Hill, but still, it would be kind of a waste, like if he just goes deep every time, because, well, you are wearing and tearing Tyreek Hill, and if you would have replacements for him, it's like, well, defense will only make plays against him. So I'm not saying like in world of no cap you don't have a use of really elite wide receivers, but in a league where you need to focus on the cap as well, this is ideal construction for that wide receiving room. I do not grade them well, but I think they're exactly what this team needs and wants. With tight ends, we already talked about them, so now let's focus towards the offensive line. And here is probably the biggest problem for the Ravens, the biggest area of weakness that could like really show, or like if they don't make playoffs, which I think is something that is a real possibility for the Ravens, though I really like them and I'm excited about this team. Like 95% of the time it would be because of the offensive line, if we are not talking injuries. Like if there is one room that could drag this team totally down, it's this one. And it starts with Ronnie Stanley, who unfortunately I think is just a good starter at this point of his career. Like injuries just took a toll on this man, and like, can he resurrect his career and be one of those like top 5, top 7 left tackles that he was in his prime? I don't think so. Like it can happen, but I don't expect it. And like I think as a Ravens fan, if he stays out there, that's like and plays like a good starter, that's like the best, almost like the best outcome that you can expect. Then towards right tackle, they as of right now have Patrick McCarry to start, and it says something about Roger Rosengarten because I think they were poised to start him over Patrick McCarry. That's what they drafted him, but they also like kept Patrick because he is definitely that real low-key starter that you eventually want to probably replace with some guy like Roger Rosengarten, developmental tackle that should eventually take his spot because he's just a better player. The fact that it didn't happen is not necessarily a problem, but it says that Roger is not as good as we hoped, because we know what Patrick is and he's a decent player, 25th, 26th best right tackle, starting right tackle in the league. But that's also something that you expect for a young tackle to overcome in a camp if he is drafted as high and you have really huge expectations for him. So it's kind of worrying that Roger didn't do it, but it's not necessarily something that is a problem for his offensive line. If anything, it probably gives them a better floor as of right now. And then you go to Tyler Linderbaum, who is by far the best player on this offensive line. I would say one of easily 7, most likely 5 best centers in the league. And absolutely, it's fun to watch this man. Like he's kind of a dick on the field. Like he plays with such a ton of energy. Like you don't want to face him because like he will be there in fourth quarter and just trying to bury you, trying to push you down, and just like be okay. Like he has incredible stamina. He's really great athlete, and if anything, he should even get better. So the elite starter is awaiting for him. I think end of the season he can reach that status. He's incredible. But like we had some bad guard rules in terms of league. This probably is the worst one. And as of right now, they have Andrew Voorhees and Daniel Fale, who I don't like. Daniel, I don't even have here. And the reason for me I don't even have him here is like he's just another solid backup next to Andrew Voorhees. It's like with Andrew, he was, I think it was last year. Let me check on this. Yeah, he was selected as 229 pick last season, which has reasonable expectation and is a guy that you actually have more expectation than you have from Daniel Fale, because he got injured like brutally. I think he torn his ACL like a couple hours before combine. So that's like absolute shit. That was almost clear that he won't be able to play his first year. Pre-injury, I think he was around that third round, perhaps even second round type of a prospect. And Ravens were like, well, we don't need you year one, but we will take a swing on this talent. So recover well. Year one, we are not thinking about that. And year two, we will see what we have in you. But as of right now, like what is this guy? Like we have not seen him play in a year. He's recovering from a serious injury, and it's not like he was first round prospect before the injury. So as of right now, I have to list him as just a solid backup, but he is not the one I'm like not super worried. Like this can go wrong for Andy Voorhees, but I do expect it to kind of work out because I like the process behind it. I think the ability to just be with the team for the whole season, to just kind of get used to NFL, meetings and everything, and the fact that they trust him with the starting job just speaks volume to me. But it can go wrong. Like he is the most unproven commodity in terms of offensive line that we have as a starter right now. It's clear as that. And on the other side, as a right guard, you have Daniel Farah, and what is there to say about him? Like, it just kind of feel like he was. Let me check on this one. Like he played at least. He was selected 4th round last season. He played under 200 snaps last year, and he was bad in them. Like he's another guy that just had a solid backup grade on, and I was thinking that probably they go with Ben Cleveland, though he's not good, but I think as of right now he's slightly better option than Daniel Farah, and it would be like, well, I guess they trust in him, they trust in his development, but boy oh boy. Like I don't think we had two solid backups starting as alignments in this Road to Super Bowl season 2, and the fact that you have a Super Bowl contender, which Ravens are, starting these two guys, and you kind of don't have necessarily a great backup plan. Like Ben Cleveland is your backup plan, and you have really good depth for offensive tackles because on one side is Judge Jones, who's like good backup to almost like a decent starter. He's almost what Patrick McCarry is, and on the other side you have Roger Rosengarten. So you have the depth for tackle, especially because like you kind of do expect Ronnie Stanley to get injured, unfortunately. But for interior, like it's Tyler Lindenbaum, and then it's like not even like cross your fingers. Like your whole family, the whole street of Ravens fans need to cross their fingers and hope that this works, because this could be absolutely detrimental to the success of their season. And like I do trust them. I do trust their development of offensive linemen. They usually have really exceptional eyes for them, and I really do like the process with Andrew. But as of right now, and week 1, Chris Jones. I think that game could tell us. I would say a lot, because if they can slow him down, then okay, with some growth, with some game reps, you've probably made the right decisions, and they will be solid. Like probably decent starters at best, like close to ending of a year, and perhaps with Andrew you have something more in the tank. But it also can be like Chris Jones having an absolute field day on this guy, and Lamar just cannot do shit, and Ravens look really bad in week 1 matchup against the Chiefs. So follow and watch how the interior will handle Chris Jones or not handle. But that kind of concludes my talk about the offense of the Ravens, something that I'm like incredibly excited about. I just wish that they had at least one more option for that interior, like some decent starter. If it was just here, it just would make me so much confident in this team. Now let's shift towards defensive side of the ball, and we have to start with Zach Orr, because there is a lot of talk about Mike Macdonald type of defensive scheme, which I think we've talked about it with the Seahawks. It's like, well, we can run pretty much everything from everything and actually make it easy for our players to understand. That sounds cool, and it's probably something that we've been able to like really install here. And it looked really great, like Baltimore defense was exceptional. But for this year, several of league teams decided, well, that really looks like fun, that looks like something we should be doing a long time. Let's just steal coordinators here or guys that work with Mike McDonald in college ranks and just let them handle our defenses, let them install this system towards our defenses. And there's two things, like it could be Mike McDonald thing and it could be Ravens thing. That you need the caliber of players that Ravens have, that you can really simplify it and make it work. Or it could be like, yeah, it was because of Mike McDonald, like he is the guy that can make it work. Both of these things are unlikely. It's most likely that this system is really exceptional and all of the disciples are going to put it, install it, and in most cases it's going to be really successful and it could be like the new meta in the NFL. That's most likely outcome. But you cannot say that's certainly going to happen because we need to see success of this type of defense, of this type of like play calling with like not at Ravens. Like we have seen it only with Ravens in the NFL level. So Zachary Orr, he obviously comes from like depth of their defensive coaches last year. I think he was handling, was it linebackers or secondary last year that he was handling. Let me check on that one. Yeah, he was linebackers coach last season. So he was here for a couple of years. He definitely deserves this shot, and I actually have quite a good faith in him for a first time play caller. C grade is kind of very good, and he has a lot to work with. But I will raise the question that everybody kind of expects that this is absolutely going to work, this is going to be it. And I'm like, hold your horses at least a little bit. And that's coming from me as a Seahawks fan, that I'm super excited about Mike McDonald and the defense with Devin Witherspoon, with Terry Gullan, and all of the other talents that we have. So that comes from me, okay? Now let's check what Zachary Orr has to work with. And it's kind of not great edge group. That starts with Kyle Van Noy, who had one of the best years of his career, like age 32 or whatever he is, which is like kind of insane. Do I expect him to repeat that? Not necessarily, but still, he is a good player. The kind of a problem is that next to Odafe Oweh, he is your best edge piece, and that doesn't fill me with hope. And you have Adisa Isaac, you have David Ojabo, you have Malik Harrison. Yeah, they didn't let him go. So you have some like guys in line, but with neither of them, obviously with the exception of Adisa Isaac, who I believe has a nice potential, but even with him, do I necessarily trust that there is a number one guy in this room for the future? No. And I do struggle to say that you have like really good number twos here. Like I don't think Odafe Oweh is going to become better, like maybe important starter could be out there, but with Kyle Van Noy, like if he survives this season as a good starter, I would be surprised. Like the age like could be coming for him for sure. With David Ojabo, it does not happen. It did not happen in his first couple of years in the league because mainly of injuries. So I do not expect that to change. And with Adisa Isaac, like he's a good talent, but I think you are projecting him as like if like the best case scenario, he is your decent number two, like a good starter, maybe impactful starter. But there is no superstar in the making here. There's kind of not even like low-key superstar. I don't see amazing starter for the future for either of these guys. And as of right now, this group is kind of, definitely not like medium in terms of league. Nothing you are like super worried, but also nothing you are super excited about. But then we take a look at the interior, and that's where the fun is. And I will start with Michael Pierce, and I'm sure you just expected Justin Marbike here. But I think this is the key piece for this defensive line. When healthy, this dude is absolute monster. Absolute freaking monster. The problem is he cannot stay healthy that much. And the fact that you were able to get 700 snaps for him last year was almost a miracle. So if he repeats that, he is kind of like similar to Vitava to Kalijah Kancey, though. Like Michael Pierce is slightly worse than Vitava, and definitely Justin Madubuike is better than Kalijah Kancey. But they are really complementary pieces that you kind of need both of them out there for the other guy to like max out, because Michael Pierce is really exceptional run defender. He doesn't offer you that much of a pass rush. With Justin Madubuike, is exactly the other way around. Though, like, he's not a bad run defender. Like, I would not say that about Justin Madubuike. This is part of this game that I was like more surprised and more pleasantly surprised last season than people see his amount of sacks, his amount of pass rush wins, and they're like, oh my god, we have this like incredible starter here. I'm like, yes, that's true, but the fact that he was much more well-rounded than I expected actually impressed me the most. But I think he really needs Michael Pierce next to him. And if we talk about Justin Madubuike, I do say that he definitely has potential to be amazing starter pretty soon in league term, and he has elite starter potential within him. So he can be that absolute game breaker for you, number one. That you can go by and have like several good, like great number threes, slightly worse number twos out there, and you can absolutely live with that and have a really good defensive line. There are two things. Like, will he work as well when there is no Mike McDonald? He probably should, but let's not forget that this was his breakout year. It was under Mike McDonald, so I do have a little concern for that. And the second part is, if Michael Pierce goes down, which is like kind of 50-50, that he doesn't play over 450 snaps, can Justin handle it where like there is not going to be this great double team eater, space eater in Michael Pierce? So there are two legit questions for Justin Madubuike, and if he has a down year, I'm not going to be surprised. Though his down year still should be important starter. Like, for me, his down year is like he's not continuing to that trajectory that he can reach elite starter status. So there's nothing bad about Justin Madubuike, but there are some concerns for me. The good thing is, you kind of have your Michael Pierce replacement in Travis Jones. Like, he is not Michael Pierce, obviously, in terms of quality, but he is almost a good starter. Like, he is one of the guys that I really had very close. Like, should I put him good starter or decent starter tag on him? He is a really good player. Like, definitely as your number 3 and kind of really great replacement for Michael Pierce, because he like does some pass rush, but he is really good run defender. That absolutely works. So, like, I would be super worried if you had like pass rush specialist here with the quality of Travis Jones, because it's much more likely that Michael Pierce goes down rather than Justin Madubuike gets not. And then Broderick Washington, like as your 4th piece, wow, that's that's actually really deep. So for what it's worth, this defensive line is really deep. They have, I would say, one of the best number 3, number 4 options, like beyond starters. Like, they are really good compared to the rest of the league, and even overall, they are really good defensive line. Like, you can see me ranking them as a B, and that's where also linebackers come into play. But to be even better, to outplay that B grade, it just needs. I think it needs Michael Pierce to stay healthy, because that should allow Justin Madubuike to swing towards the stars. And now let's go towards the best player on this defense, and that's Roquan Smith. Just like with Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, pretty much just like with Jesse Bates and Antoine Winfield. Roquan Smith or Fred Warner, I cannot argue one of them is better than the other. They are creme de la creme, top of the top of linebackers in the league. This is a room that obviously is a huge plus. He's exceptional, man. Like, the fact that they were able to trade for him and not necessarily give up a house, it says that Like the other team obviously did not make a really good decision. Hello Bears, right? Like 2nd and 5th round pick. Really bad. 2nd and 5th round pick for a Quan Smith. Okay, great business, Ravens. Great to like pleasure to do business with you, Bears. Like what is there to say? Like one of the things that in past 2 years I would say Bears didn't handle very well, and he definitely elevates the defensive line and defensive plus linebackers ranking for me. There is probably the biggest gap between number 1 linebacker and number 2 in this room, because as much as Addis Isaac like probably should be more with the edge guys rather than here, so your number 2 guy is definitely Trenton Simpson, and it should work. In theory, this is actually really nice, because like Rock One is going to be brain of the operation, and Trenton Smith is going to be like a guy that you just point and he will run towards that. He has a good athleticism, and it should work in theory. But can you count on that? Can he like show that he is willing to lean on, willing to absolutely trust Rock One, and sometimes even make his own decision and make them right, and just lean on the athletic side of the of his body that is really good? He could, and he could very quickly with like Rock One leadership emerge as a good starter. Like I do believe that with Trenton Simpson, but as of right now, I cannot rank him absolutely higher than good backup. And it might just be that he does not figure it out, that he will be a Pro Bowl for this team, and it's not like you necessarily have that much behind him. Like it's Chris Ward and Malik Harrison pretty much, and that's really not great. But now, let's go towards, well, not the best player here, but future superstar in the making, and that's Kyle Hamilton, because that guy plays everywhere. Like, he played several, like, over 100 snaps, I believe, as linebacker last season. He plays on the edge, he played even something as a corner, something as a safety, strong safety, free safety, edge. Like, he plays all over goddamn field. Like, there's probably not a player like him in the league. The fact that I have a safety on him, it's just like, yeah, he probably plays most of his snaps there, but he's just absolute unicorn in a way. Like, you are giving him free reins to do whatever the hell kind of he wants to do, wherever he feels like he's going to be the most important. And that's another thing. Like, will Kyle Hamilton and Zachary Orr like be able to figure it out exactly the way that Mike McDonald like can scheme defense around a guy that you just absolutely trust that will do the best thing that the defense need every single position. Like, he can switch from safety to edge to corner to whatever. He will do what slot corner. Can this survive losing Mike McDonald? And if so, I will be surprised that if like Kyle Hamilton is not elite starter in my grades like later in the year, because boy oh boy, it's just so much fun watching him. He's just exceptional, and I'm like truly excited about this player. I hope this just doesn't put him like, well, we need for you to be like more of a normal player. We want you to have just one position and just play that. I don't think he's the type of player that for him it would necessarily be the best option. Like, let him loose, or trade him to the Seahawks, please. No, it's not going to happen. They understand what they have in Kyle Hamilton. Beside him, they have Marcus Williams, stud of a safety. Like, secondary is one of the situations that Ravens definitely have figured out. Marcus Williams, I'm not saying he will necessarily survive the amazing starter status. Like, he is more of a player that I have closer to like lower grades than the amazing starter. But as your like best safety here, easily top 10 safety in the league, absolutely you are happy with him. Then it was a question who will start next to him, because like Kyle Hamilton will play some of the snaps as a safety, but not necessarily. You don't want to nail him to the safety. And it was not like they had, at the point when I was making this presentation, that they necessarily had guys ready to step up. But they brought one. They brought veteran in Eddie Jackson, who was let go by the Bears. He signed here like really cheap. Contract, let me check. Yeah, 1 year, 1.5 million. And come on, this is just not fair, because you are getting an experienced veteran that absolutely should fit here, should fit the culture. He should you just need him to play smart, because you have guys that will play physical, they will play with speed. You just need him to be smart, veteran, safety, your number 2 option, well, like partly a leader of the defense, but you don't need much from him, and he will absolutely, I think, deliver. To me, he's somewhere like between decent and a good starter, and getting him for like 1 year, 1.5 million, it's just kind of cheating. Like, I don't understand why that's happening, but yeah, it's a really great news for the Ravens. And then in terms of corners, you have obviously Marlon Humphrey. If Marlon Humphrey is your best corner, you are sleeping like a baby. Like, is he sauce? No. Is he top 5? I think he's around that, like 5th to 7th. And the only thing is, like, he needs to stay healthy. Like, he had some injury problems last year, but that's like the only thing that you have. As a knock on him, I do not expect him to be anything worse than an amazing starter when he plays. The only thing he needs to play, and it's not like for Mikey Pierce, you say like it's kind of 50-50. For Marlon Humphrey, I would say it's more 70-30, 80-20. The chances that he is actually going to survive, like not the whole season, but like miss a game or 2 rather than like 5 or 6. If you have some like a weak spot on this defense, on the secondary, it's probably your number 2 corner. And even there, like, you are really happy, because they are about to start Brandon Stephens, who is like okay number 2 corner. Like, he's not a guy that you sleep like a baby, you will have a bad dream or 2 about like Brandon Stephens. But when you have your number 1 guy in Marlon Humphrey, and when you have the whole secondary in Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Eddie Jackson, like out there, like if this is your biggest problem, dude, like, yeah, you will have like one bad dream like once a week, but not necessarily the day that Ravens will play. So Brandon Stephens is absolutely okay. He was durable last year. He looked good. What is that to say? Like, he's probably maxed out as a good starter, so that's all you can get from him. But you don't need him to be like high swing, high reward type of guy. Like, you need to be him exactly what he is: dependable, decent to good starter that he may hold to the position, or he might lose it because either Nate Wiggins, who obviously has a better chance, or TJ Tampa, with their potentials, they are those swings into like, we will have really great number 2 corner. Or it could be like we need to get cheaper at a position. Maybe we will let go Marlon Humphrey and we can go with Nate Wiggins and Brandon Stephens with TJ Tampa as a backup, like in a year or 2. So you have several options. You are deep. You are good. You are super happy about the secondary. That's what I'm going to say. And overall, this defense of Ravens is really, really good. With that being said, what are Ravens? What is their floor? What is their ceiling? And how do they rank in my road to Super Bowl like tiers or ranks? So, floor, I will go 8 wins. And I know that sounds like that's not much, right? First of all, they will play first team schedule. Second of all, they have a glaring weakness. Like, that offensive line could be absolutely detrimental. And third, the division is just brutal, man. Like, like going 3-3 in this division, even if you won it last year, it's kind of not embarrassing. Like, it's like, well, what the hell, man? It's Bengals twice with Joe Burrow. It's Steelers twice with like Mike Tomlin, and maybe Russell Wilson will show up. And the defense is absolutely hard. And it's the Browns that are a good team, like are a really good team. They were a playoff team without Nick Chubb and with like Joe freaking Flacco last year. So they are an exceptional team. So boy oh boy, this has really Like 8 wins, as low as it sounds for a team that won last year the whole conference, that was entering playoffs as the number 1 seed, was entering playoffs as the biggest favorite, or at least like the semifinals. Perhaps it was like close between them and San Fran, like early in the playoffs. It sounds harsh, but it's not. It's just that schedule is brutal. You have one huge weakness that, when we are talking about the floor, it probably means that that weakness got exploited a lot. And you have really tough division. So if I say 8 wins, I don't feel bad about it despite I have them as a Super Bowl contenders. What is their ceiling? I will go 14 wins. I know it sounds crazy. Like, how can I say 8 wins and 14? Like, that's a huge dispersion. But if that O-line is just good, they just need Andrew Reese and Daniel Follett to be like decent starters and Ronnie Stanley to kind of stay healthy. If that's the case, they are an absolute juggernaut in my opinion. Like, that's where I'm coming. Like, I really think that the offense, the way I laid it out, if the O-line can do their job at least somehow, I think that they might be the best team in the football. I truly believe that, because like how do you beat them? That's my question, because you are not going to get them into shootouts, because that defense is bloody good. If Zachary Orr is just a great successor to Mike McDonald, which definitely you need that to reach that upside. And like there's pretty much 2 questions, like offensive line and Zachary Orr. And like Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson, it's like, is it as good as last year or better? Those like 3 there. And like for a floor, you need offensive line to be truly horrible, as they can be. Zachary Orr be like kind of replacement, and Lamar to not improve under Todd Monken last second year. That will, I think, reasonably give you 8 wins, like at your floor. But if all of these things are, and not necessarily like, I don't need them to step up like 2 levels or 3 levels. Like if Todd Monken and Lamar are like 1 level from what they were last year. If that O-line from being kind of it's just good enough, which is not a huge ask, right? And if Zachary is just the guy that, like they've chosen for a reason, Harbaugh has really good track record of hiring the right people, this team could be what they were last season, and maybe even better. Because their offense, with Derrick Henry, with healthy Mark Andrews, with next year of Todd Monken, I just don't know how you stop that. And if you can win time of possession because you are running the ball and you are tearing the defense down, and then guys like Kyle Hamilton, Justin Madubike, Michael Pierce gets more of the rest, and they can go out do their job. With Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, like, you are not scoring that much of the defense, so they could be a team that, like, in all of that, they should be on pace to beat you like 20 to 13 pretty much every single game, and you will still feel like you were not in that game because they just suffocate you, they just out-physical you, outmatch you. That's, I think, the possibility that this team has. And if that happens, well, we will of course have to see for the playoffs, because no matter if, like, even if they are 14 wins team, just like last year when Kansas faced Ravens, I feel like, well, anything can happen. And I was like, well, 4 points underdogs for Chiefs? Really? Are we sure about that? I'm not. I was on the Chiefs side on that game. Like, quite frankly, I was kind of right, because we need to see that they can make it in the playoffs with Lamar. So, the floor might seem too low, the ceiling might seem too crazy, and it kind of, either of that doesn't necessarily need to matter that they will, even if they hit the ceiling, I'm not like super hype on them winning the Super Bowl unless I see Lamar perform in January. And that's also like moving from that towards the talk with road to Super Bowl with them. Like, I do see Super Bowl in Lamar's future. That's why, like, I'm putting him with that top 4 guys. I do see that, but do I have a doubt about his ability to actually make it in the playoffs? Yes, I do. but still they would be top 7 team easily in terms of how likely are they to win Super Bowl in the next 3 or 5 years. Because as we talk in the draft, like they are not necessarily only drafting for this year. I really see a successful plan, and if they struck a good a great value with Andrew Voorhees, which like I said, I'm a huge fan of what they did with him, then boy oh boy, this team is absolutely set for future success. So thank you very much for listening. Let me know what you think about that super wild spread, about my take on Lamar. Would you enjoy my type of offense? See you with the next one. Bye.